This time, I'm going to give you an N64 settings guide for the Retroid Pocket 3. Before we get started, I want to thank you for watching my videos. If you're enjoying them, please do click subscribe and click on that little bell to get updates. But with that out of the way, let's just jump right into this and get your Retroid Pocket 3 set up for N64. For all of these games, I'm going to be using the M64Plus FZ emulator, which unfortunately is another one of those that just doesn't let you access most of the settings from inside the game, so we'll have to do some setup from this menu. Luckily, compared to some other systems, this one's actually pretty simple. I'll walk you right through everything you need to do. First, click up here, then go to Profiles and select Profile. Now, most games will work fine on the default profile, which is Glide 64 accurate. However, I still recommend you make a copy of it so that you can tweak it and change some of the settings if you want to. So go ahead and click here for Manage Profiles, click that one, and copy it. Give it a name, maybe tweak, or whatever you want. In my case, I'm just adding a 2 to the end, and then we're done. And then it'll take you through and let you look at all the settings. And to be completely honest, you can leave all of these exactly how they are. But later, if there's something you want to play with or see how it works, it's a good idea to use this copied profile so that you don't mess up anything on the original, which works well. But I know everyone's also curious how to play N64 in widescreen. Well, let me help you with that. You want to choose the Glide N64 Fast profile, make a copy. Again, call it whatever you want, maybe add a W or the word wide. And yeah, you do need the Glide N64 Fast profile in this case. All the others are too slow for the Retroid Pocket 3. Go ahead, make that copy, name it whatever you wanted, and then save it, and we'll pop into the settings. There are only a few settings here that you want to change. The first is obviously this one, widescreen hack. You want to turn that on, and that will enable any widescreen hacks for any N64 game, and that's the whole purpose of setting up this profile. The only other setting I really recommend changing for this profile is Use Native Resolution Factor, and I set that one to 2x. Really, for this profile, that's what determines the rendering resolution of the game. Everything else you can leave as it is, and we're pretty much ready to start playing games now. Luckily, M64Plus FZ does allow per game settings, and you want to click into those so that you can choose how you want to play each game. If you're going to be using the widescreen profile, you always want to choose native resolution, because with that profile, it doesn't actually determine what it's rendered at, but it does have a big hit on performance. Now, you know me, and if there is a Ridge Racer game to be played, I'm going to play it. So let's jump in and see what it looks like at double resolution and widescreen. It runs well, and I think it looks pretty good. However, there are still some aliasing issues, especially on the lines on the screen. So instead of running widescreen, let's jump out and run it at a higher resolution. Ignore what it says about the native resolution being the highest quality. By setting it to 1440p, we're actually going to get some free super sampling. And then, of course, we want to use that Glide 64 accurate profile. And let's hop back in and see how this looks. Okay, I like this much better. Because of the sort of simple, almost cartoon-like design of this game, I think rendering at a much higher resolution looks really great. And because we have some extra performance overhead, rendering at a higher resolution gives us super sampling anti-aliasing, so you don't notice any of those aliasing artifacts on the lines on the road or things like that. Next up is a request from Joe in the comments. It's NFL Blitz Special Edition. This is another one you can run at 1440 if you choose the Glide 64 accurate profile. I've tested it in widescreen and it just doesn't run very well unless you set it all the way down to 1x resolution. However, as you can see, using the 64 accurate profile, it runs great, even at this high resolution. Another game I want to take a look at is Excitebike 64. Because of the style of this game, I don't think it benefits as much from the higher resolution, so I actually prefer to do this one in widescreen with our widescreen profile, and remember, when you do that, always set it to native resolution. Because these races are played in the arena, I feel like having the widescreen view of where you're racing adds something to the game. And as I mentioned, the style of this game's graphics are kind of gritty anyway, so you don't get a lot from higher resolution, and it still performs well even at 2x and in widescreen. There are some minor frame dips, but overall it's pretty stable. There's nothing drastic, and I don't think it detracts much from the gameplay. In the comments, Dustin off a Classic, cool name by the way, asked to check out Banjo-Tooie, so let's take a look at it first in widescreen. Now you can see here that in this closed-in environment, it appears to be running really well in widescreen. However, let's take a look at what happens if we go back out into an open world. Yeah, I don't like this at all. It's playing at around 20 frames per second. It's not smooth. So really, I think I would prefer to run this at a higher resolution, but not in widescreen. So let's set the resolution to 1080, which will still give us some super sampling, and of course choose the Glide 64 accurate profile and see how that works. Oh yeah, so much better. And to be honest, this game already runs at a resolution that is quite wide. It's clearly not 16 by 9, but it's much wider than 4 by 3. So you're using a lot of the screen real estate anyway, and because this profile is more optimized, you get much better performance than on the Glide N64 fast profile. It's a pity that we don't have widescreen hacks with this one, but it is what it is. And Bad Wolf 66 wanted to see how Destruction Derby 64 runs, so let's check that out. We'll do internal rendering at 1080p with that Glide 64 accurate profile. This is an odd one because it doesn't seem this game ever intended to run at 30 or 60 frames per second. It sort of fluctuates between 40 and 50, and it does that no matter what resolution I run it at. Overall, it does seem to run pretty well. I'm satisfied with its performance, and I think it performs similarly in widescreen mode. The frame rate may take a bit of a dip, and of course, you do get some more aliasing because you're not getting the benefit of rendering at a higher resolution, but definitely playable if you prefer widescreen. Another game I want to show you is Wipeout 64. No matter what you do, it's capped at 30 frames per second. And again, because of the style or design of this game, and primarily I mean the textures are never clean, so they don't look as nice if you upscale them anyway compared to, say, Ridge Racer. So I prefer to play this in widescreen. However, if these occasional frame rate dips bother you, just switch to the Glide 64 accurate profile and 1080p, and you'll get a solid 30 frames per second. Another request from Dustin off a Classic was whether Paper Mario runs well in battles, and I can confirm it does at 1080 with the accurate renderer. Let's take a look. And this is actually one game I definitely wouldn't recommend with the widescreen profile. I'll show you why, but it basically comes down to the way the game was designed. The backgrounds seem to have been set with a specific limit, and they just don't scale well to widescreen. You can see that pretty clearly right there. It's also really obvious here in the battle on the edges of the screen. I just don't like how it looks. There's also a performance hit, so I strongly recommend running this one at 1080 using the accurate profile. And that does it for this one. And although M64Plus FZ doesn't really let you change any of the settings from inside the game, once you do get all your favorite games set up exactly the way you like, you can then launch them from your favorite front end. In my case, as always, that's Digest-Show. I hope you enjoyed learning how to get the most from N64 on your Retroid Pocket 3. Now you're fully equipped to play your games at a higher resolution or in widescreen, depending on what you prefer. And of course, if you did enjoy this video and my others, please do consider subscribing and pushing the bell to get notifications for my new videos. Until the next one, as always, keep gaming.